India passenger plane has crashed shortly after taking off from Ahmedabad in northwest India. Officials say 242 people were on board. Apparently, there are no survivors. At least 100 bodies have been taken to local hospitals, though many more are feared dead due to the extensive damage to buildings at the crash site. Air India Flight 171 was minutes into its journey from Ahmedabad to London Gatwick when it lost altitude. It was carrying passengers and crew from India, Canada, Portugal and the United Kingdom.
A huge plume of smoke rises from the site of the crash. The Air India plane came down in a residential area near the airport, sending its last signal to controllers seconds after takeoff.
The plane crashed on top of a doctor's hostel. Rescue services were on the spot within 2 minutes. Work is progressing to rescue as many people as possible.
Civilians and rescue teams rushed to the site, trying to extinguish the fires and clear the area. Officials say there were 242 people on board. There were no known survivors, and the number of casualties is expected to be much higher as the crash happened in a busy area of the city. Scores of bodies have already been recovered. In a post on X, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi said the tragedy was heartbreaking beyond words. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer said the images were devastating and that his thoughts are with the passengers and families of those on the Air India flight. Air India has set up an emergency centre and support team for families seeking information about their loved ones. But until all the details come in, for now, all they can do is wait.
Straight to our correspondent Shalu Yadav in Delhi. Welcome back, Shalu. What more can you tell us about this terrible incident?
Well, the latest we're hearing is from Ahmedabad police chief, who has reportedly said that there appears to be no survivors in this crash. And sadly, the scene on the ground seems to confirm that fear, Phil. So I think this is one of the worst air tragedies in the history of India, if I may. And what seems to be making this tragedy even worse is that casualties are also feared in the residential area where this plane crashed. It crashed within minutes of its takeoff from the Ahmedabad airport. We hear that the pilot reportedly issued a mayday call signaling an emergency, but after that there was no response from the aircraft. Now on X, formerly Twitter, we see visuals of a portion of the aircraft perched on top of a building. This building is a hostel where doctors and many medical students lived. Now it's unclear as of now as to how many medical students were present inside the building at the time of this crash. It is now surrounded by fire brigades, ambulances. The police say that they have cleared almost 80% of the area and they've rescued most of the people from there. And the rescue work is still ongoing, and they say that they're working on war footing, really. Aside from that, we are seeing visuals of the relatives and family members of those, not just those who were on that flight, but also of those who lived in the hostel. They are turning up outside the civil hospital, worried and frantically trying to get any information that they can about their loved ones.
What's Air India saying at this stage?
Well, Air India has so far given out two tweets. One was to confirm the incident just within hours of this accident happening, and then it gave out details of the number of people who were on board. 242 out of those, 169 are Indian nationals, 53 are British nationals, 1 Canadian and 7 Portuguese nationals who were on board. They're saying that they are providing all help possible that they can to the families of these victims. They've also set up a dedicated passenger hotline to provide more information, and they say that they are cooperating with the authorities for investigation into this incident. Now, this Air India crash is, this is reportedly the first time a Boeing 787 aircraft has crashed like this. Boeing Dreamliner, as we all know, is one of the most modern passenger aircraft aircraft in service. And so this incident seems to be putting a spotlight on the safety standards of the aircraft manufacturing giant that is Boeing, Phil.
And what can you tell us about the place where the plane came down in Ahmedabad?
Well, this is a residential place very close to the airport, in fact. And as I said, the building where it crashed, it's a hostel where many doctors and medical students live. We don't know how many of those doctors were actually in the premises when this crash happened. We hear that this crash happened in the dining hall area of the hostel. Now, the pictures of the building, as you saw, as our audiences saw in our report, that we just played, that the building is completely charred, but we are yet to hear from the authorities as to how many casualties, if any, are of those who actually were there at the time of the incident.
Okay, thank you for that, Shalu. Shalu Yadav in Delhi. Andreas Späth is an international aviation journalist based in Hamburg, here in Germany. Welcome to DW. What have you made of the pictures and statements you've seen concerning this incident?
It's really puzzling and it's really shocking for many reasons. First of all, I know Air India fairly well. I know their current CEO, Campbell Wilson, who was on a different flight today and had to divert after this crash. And I really had to tell my condolences to him and to the airline and to India about this. This is really shocking. And it's also the very first crash ever of a Boeing 787. That's a very major backbone of the commercial aviation fleet around the world. I think Air India has 19 these days. And carriers like Lufthansa are just in the process of introducing the Boeing 787. It's really a state-of-the-art aircraft for the world's airlines. Almost 1,200 of them are around in the skies since 2011, I think. They are in service for many, many airlines around the world, and I also personally like the aircraft a lot. As we can even see here in this charred debris, it's strewn around in Ahmedabad. This is an aircraft not built from aluminum, as aircraft always were in history, but this, for the first time, it is an aircraft built of composite materials. So that's a very big revolutionary step in aviation. So it's especially shocking to see this aircraft now state-of-the-art crashing for the first time. Saying that, it's also very puzzling what we see in this video that has been widely aired today, where we see basically an aircraft in a landing mode, and we see a gentle approach, we think, when we see the video at first. So it's hard to comprehend that this actually is meant to be a takeoff. So that's really bizarre, and pilots are discussing online quite a bit about the fact that it seems from the video that the flaps at the back end of the wings are not really extended the way they should be for the takeoff configuration. If that has been a factor, it's too early to say, but it appears to be a bit strange. And just to clarify for ourselves, the aircraft was only in the air basically for seconds, less than a minute, I think. When the pilots take off and they go past their decision speed of V2, they decide actively, okay, all systems green, all systems go and in functioning order, let's take off. So at this very moment, when they were taking off and decided to take off, everything must have been in order. And then in a few seconds, things apparently dramatically changed into this absolute catastrophe seconds later. And they had apparently just a bit of time enough to send a mayday call to ATC, to the tower at the airport, and were not able to specify what was their problem. And so this is really puzzling altogether. Right. It's really too early to put these pieces together.
So how long before the investigation begins?
The investigation has begun today. Investigations begin at the very moment things like this happen, sadly. And of course, the next major step will be hopefully the recovery of the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder. These are, of course, essential to determine what went wrong here. And I can only hope that these are rescued intact from the rubble, these two recorders, and they will tell us more or less the full story, probably, They might be flown to some lab, probably in France or in the US. That's the best places to actually calibrate and kind of read out all this data, to hopefully preserved on these data chips that are inside these very much hardened boxes. So that actually is the next very big crucial step that we can hope for, that it'll happen very soon.
Thank you for guiding us through that so clearly, Andreas. Andreas Späth, international aviation journalist.
Thank you.
Well, British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer released a statement saying that the scenes of the London-bound plane carrying many British nationals crashing are devastating. He went on to say that he's being kept updated as the situation develops and that his thoughts are with the passengers and their families. Well, the Air India flight was bound for London Gatwick Airport. Our correspondent, Birgit Maass, is there. Welcome, Birgit. What's going on there?
Phil, Gatwick Airport is bustling. It's holiday season and it's the UK's second biggest airport, over 40 million passengers last year. And for most of those people who are coming here today, it's business as usual. However, not for those people who would have expected their loved ones here landing here at 6:25 local time. For those people, obviously, it's completely devastating. And I imagine not just for them, but also for the wider Indian community. It's very big here in London. Over 500,000 people of Indian origin are living in London. It's a big community also in the UK, around 2 million people. And there's a lot of connection between India and London. Just this flight, for example, to Ahmedabad is almost going from Gatwick almost daily. So a big loss and hugely devastating for a lot of people here in the UK.
And how are families there being supported?
Gatwick Airport is saying that there is a reception centre for families and for people who are directly implicated by the tragedy. Air India has a dedicated hotline which is only open for those people who were expecting passengers and who have, again, are being directly implicated. I have to say that here at Gatwick Airport there are a lot of people that are looking after media. There's the world media here where I am at the departure area. And also they would be helping passengers. However, it's still a few hours only since we've known about the tragedy. So for the moment, there's a lot of media interest. And I believe that Gatwick Airport is trying to help as many people as they can.
What sort of reputation does Air India have over there?
Well, according to one report by a news agency, PA, it has not a very good reputation when it comes to delays, one of the worst in the UK. However, you also have to bear in mind that in order to operate in the United Kingdom, there is a very high safety standard that's expected. And as the previous guest, the expert, has alluded to, it's be far early to speculate of what the cause was for this tragedy.
Thank you for that, Birgit. DW correspondent Birgit Maass at Gatwick Airport near London. Well, Julian Bray is a journalist and aviation expert. He joins us from Cambridge in the UK. Welcome back to DW, Julian. What have you made of what you've seen and heard so far? An Air India, a Boeing 787 Dreamliner crashing shortly after takeoff.
This is truly a tragic event. I've seen several videos now of the incident and the lead up to the incident, and it doesn't look good. I have to say that, and everything I say is pure speculation. There are emergency teams on site and trying to find out exactly what did happen and how it happened. But what is clear from the videos I've seen so far, at approximately 625 feet, there is some kind of incident, because you can see a white puff of smoke near the engine area. And I understand the pilot managed to get out a mayday call, but we don't know the content of the call. Then almost immediately we see a fireball behind a group of houses, and we understand that the Dreamliner actually crashed into a doctor's hostel, which is alongside a hospital. So that is not looking good. There was 242 people on board, including children, and it was heading for London Gatwick, and it was due to arrive there at 10 o'clock tonight. Now, the authorities over here are urging people to use the emergency telephone number and not to go to Gatwick Airport because they can give them better information and directions by looking at social media, the Air India website, the Tata website, and also for relations there is a special phone number.
The rescue recovery operation is still underway. How long before investigators go in to determine what happened? And just talk us through what they'll be looking at.
Yes, we're going to say that this was a terrible situation. It is a fireball, so we don't know what's left of the aircraft or whether the fire was confined to one particular area of the aircraft. But what the investigators will be looking for is to find out why this happened. Obviously, they will recover the black boxes. This is the voice data recorder and all the conversations on the flight deck with various people, and also another recorder which records every switch that's been pulled, every relay that's been deployed. All that will be fitted together, and it's all on a timeline, so they can actually recreate, once they recover the black boxes, what actually happens to that aircraft in its final moments. But that is further down the line. At the moment, we have the local fire brigade, and also I understand that airport fire tenders have made their way to the scene, and they are assisting as well. So that is all happening. The airport's been closed to all traffic, so flights going into the airport are being diverted elsewhere, and those due to leave the airport just won't be going anywhere at all. So the airport is closed, and they're concentrating all their resources into dealing with this tragic incident. And at the moment, it's a search and rescue operation, which means that they are hoping to rescue survivors. And we have had survivors from this type of incident before. And once we go through that phase, they then determine whether it's then going to be a recovery-only operation. But I'm saying the initial videos are not good, but right. That is only part of the story. We need to see the whole picture.
And the investigation itself, do we presume that this will be managed and coordinated by India? There were nationals from 4 countries on board this plane.
Yes, there will also be the international regulators will come in. They're already flying out, and the local offices are contributing. Even our own Civil Aviation Authority will be assisting. Also, a team from Boeing is already in the flight underway, so all their experts will be going. And what happens in a case like this, once they have dealt with the fire and they declare it purely a recovery operation, they will then cordon off the entire area, and they will try and recover every last piece of debris. And this will be taken to a secure area, like a big warehouse, where they will reconstruct the aircraft as much as they can from what is left, because the point is they're trying to find out where the source of this incident is, whether in fact it is a security issue or whether it is a mechanical issue. They need to find that out. And once that is found out, they can then work with the people who are decoding the black boxes. And once they've been decoded, they can put the 2 together and then try and work out exactly what happened. It does look as though something did happen at 625 feet. So looking on the black side, it could actually be an incendiary device with an altitude trigger on it, because that would take off when it takes off and it hits that flight, it would go off, or it could be set to come down to that level. So as it's taking off and we're having this incident, we must look towards whether it is a security issue on there. We are in a huge conflict zone in that whole region, so we have to be alert to this. But
Okay.
it isn't a happy sight.
All right, so speculation at this stage, but based on what you've seen from the videos. In the meantime, will other Dreamliners around the world, will they continue to fly?
The moment there will be a notice to airmen going out that this has happened, and individual operators will look at it. They won't ground all Dreamliners until they're absolutely certain it's a mechanical situation with the aircraft. But it really depends on the team on the ground. If they think there's the slightest possibility of it being the fault of the aircraft, they will then immediately ground the Dreamliners or haul them in for checks, or they'll take remedial action. But this is very early days, and at the moment our thoughts have to be with the recovery operation, and we really got to hope that it stays a recovery operation.
Understood.
So, sorry, it stays a rescue operation, not a recovery operation, because that would be the end of the process. So that is where it is at the moment.
Right.
It's early days. We've got a bit of video. We don't have the detail, and so we are waiting the experts to give us the first returns from what they found.
You mentioned that the aircraft's manufacturer, Boeing, is likely to be part of the investigation team. Boeing, of course, hit the headlines in January of last year when bits of a door became detached and there were questions over the company's quality control systems. Are those questions likely to resurface?
You're talking about a panel that was put into the side of an aircraft, which is over the wing. And in some options, you can actually have an additional exit there. This was a blanking off plate which goes in, and it's supposed to be held by 8 secure bolts, and then the cabin interior is put over it, so you would know it's there. For some reason, these bolts weren't put in place. The panel itself was made by a subsidiary company, and I understand there's been a complete and utter investigation on this, and the whole thing has been turned over, and every Dreamliner in service today was physically checked to make sure that it had actually been done and the bolts were in place. So I don't have a problem with that, because I'm quite certain that particular problem was taken care of. What I am worried about is the fact that we can actually see in one of the videos it appears to be a puff of smoke coming from an engine before it starts its rapid descent, and then bursts into this fireball. So something has happened at 625 feet, and the pilot was able to get a mayday call out, so he was aware of something, and then it all happened very quickly. But as I say, it was pure speculation on our part, and we have to wait for the experts to actually get in and find out exactly what did happen. But it is a major catastrophic disaster, and our thoughts have to be with everybody concerned. Our condolences to them.
Understood. Thank you so much for talking us through that so clearly. Aviation expert and journalist Julian Bray. Thank you.
Thank you.